You know, there's a type of financial contract out there, one that most people have never heard of, that deals in trillions of dollars. It operates in the shadows, and it has the power to bring an entire country to its knees. This isn't some crazy movie plot. This is the very real world of derivatives. And today, we're prying open the lid on one of its most powerful and dangerous tools.
Take a good look at that number. No, that's not a typo. That's how much money the country of Italy lost in a single year from just a handful of these deals. Over 3 billion euros. Poof, gone. This was the price tag for a massive, hidden bet that went completely catastrophically wrong.
So that's the big question, right? How on earth does a major world economy just lose billions of dollars to an investment bank on some kind of secret deal? Well, to figure that out, we've got to rewind and look at the very simple problem that these super complex tools were first created to solve. All right, let's get into it. The heart of this whole story really boils down to just one thing. Nobody knows what interest rates are going to do. I mean, think about it. Whether you're a giant corporation, a government, or just a person with a mortgage, the question of whether rates will go up or down is one of the biggest financial headaches there is. It's a classic choice. You can go for the fixed rate. It's safe, it's predictable, you always know what you're paying. But if rates suddenly drop, you're stuck paying way more than you should be. Or you can roll the dice with a floating rate. If rates fall, you're saving money. But if they shoot up, well, your payments could go through the roof. The ultimate question has always been, isn't there a way to get the best of both worlds? And that's where this thing called an interest rate swap comes onto the stage. It was invented to solve this exact problem, to let two people or companies or even countries basically trade their interest rate risk with each other. But here's the kicker. This one tool can be used for two totally opposite reasons. So in simple terms, a swap is just an agreement to trade payments. Imagine you have a floating rate loan and your friend has a fixed rate one. You could literally agree to make each other's interest payments. You'd get the safety of that fixed payment, and they'd get the chance to save money if your floating rate goes down. What's really key here is that no money, no actual loan changes hands. You're just swapping the interest payments based on an imaginary or notional amount you both agree on. And this chart, well, this shows the brutal reality of how these things work. They are a zero-sum game. See that perfectly straight line? That means for every single dollar one side wins, the other side loses that exact same dollar. There is no in-between. There is always a winner, and there is always a loser. This right here is the absolute core of our story. You can use a swap to hedge. Think of it as buying insurance to protect yourself and lower your risk. Or you can use that exact same tool to speculate, which is just a fancy word for making a pure, straight-up bet on which way you think interest rates are headed. It can be a safety net, or it can be a casino chip. Okay, so now that we get this whole insurance versus a bet idea, let's get back to Italy. Now we can finally start to see how that multi-billion euro hole in their budget actually happened. So the story kicks off back in the 90s. Italy started doing these swap deals with Morgan Stanley, but they weren't buying insurance. Oh no. They set up the deals to get huge piles of cash right away, up front. It was a clever trick to make their government budget look a lot healthier than it actually was. But that cash came with a huge hidden string attached. Italy was now betting that interest rates would go up. And then, 2008 happened. The global economy crashed, interest rates hit the floor, and suddenly Italy's bet wasn't just wrong, it was a multi-billion euro catastrophe. This little trick is called window dressing. And, for a few years, it worked like a charm. The government got this big cash infusion, which they loved, and the enormous risk they were taking on, that massive gamble on interest rates, was buried in the fine print of contracts nobody could see. Right here, you can see the exact moment the party ended. Look at this. From 98 to 2005, it's all green. Italy is getting paid hundreds of millions of euros every year. Then, boom, 2006. It flips. The money starts pouring out of Italy, and the losses just get bigger and bigger until you hit that jaw-dropping 3.2 billion euro loss in 1 year. This is from Maria Canada, who was actually in charge of Italy's public debt at the time. She's basically explaining the final nail in the coffin. The losses got so big and Italy's credit rating got downgraded that the bank had a clause in the contract that let them pull the plug. This forced Italy to come to the table, totally powerless, and they had to lock in billions in losses just to get out of these toxic deals. Now, Italy's story is pretty shocking, but it's really pointing to a much bigger, scarier problem in our whole financial system. And that's the danger of complexity itself.
I mean, how do you even figure out what one of these things is worth on any given day? The answer is, it's incredibly difficult. The value isn't just a number you can look up. It's calculated using these mind-bendingly complex mathematical models that are all trying to predict the future.
Don't worry, I'm not going to make you solve this. Seriously. The only reason we're showing you this formula, and this is just a tiny piece of one, is to give you a feel for the insane level of complexity we're talking about. This isn't your high school algebra class. This is basically rocket science, but for money.
And that's the real trap. When your financial system is built on tools that are so complicated, priced by models that maybe only a handful of people in the world truly understand, it becomes terrifyingly easy for massive risks to just build up, completely hidden from sight. No one sees them until they explode. So let's wrap this all up. What did we learn? First, that these powerful swaps can be a shield, insurance, to lower your risk. But they can also be a sword, used for pure speculation. And that's exactly what Italy did. They used them to window dress their budget, taking cash up front in exchange for a massive hidden bet on interest rates, a bet that blew up in their faces after the 2008 crisis. And in the end, their story is a huge warning sign that in modern finance, sometimes the complexity itself is the biggest risk of all. And that kind of leaves us with one last, pretty unsettling question. The global market for these kinds of derivatives isn't measured in billions or even trillions. It's in the hundreds of trillions of dollars. We just saw how one bad set of deals could completely blindside a major country. It really makes you wonder, in a financial system this enormous and this complicated, who actually knows where the next bomb is ticking?